the voting and transmission of results, election results, should be basically electronic and transparent, so as to eliminate manual discretionary method, which is exposed to whatever may happen in between. That's first. The second one is you are asking that the appointments of electoral officers should have public input, so that it is not whimsical for whoever is doing that alone. Interest may clog in. But then, before I go into these two major things, I want to ask first, why are you interested in this two particular demands in this electoral reform? And secondly, why this time? It's just 2 years into the administration of the person that was announced in the last election. So why do you think this is the time to ask for electoral reform ahead of 2027?
The best time for us to have had electoral reform was 60 years ago, when we decided, we gained independence and said we will become a republic, at least in 1963. The next best time was in 1999, when we returned back to our fourth republic, when we said, after military coups and military coups, the hallmark of every democracy are free, fair, and credible elections. Once a public office holder knows that you do not have any stake in sending him to office, then he's not beholden to you. He's not committed to you.
Talking about
because
the timing.
there is a timeline. There is a timeline. A new electoral act must come at least 1 year out of the next general elections. So as it is now today, we have barely 7 months window. In fact, by December of this year, the window for electoral reform will be closing. Maybe it can extend to the early part of next year, January, February, but we have less than 7 or 8 months to sort this thing out about 2027. So that is why it was very important that we started earlier than this, but it is better late than never.
Okay, let's go into the content. The first is the discretion thrown at INEC to transmit the election results whichever way. And considering that yesterday I saw you also ranting about JAMB, complaining about the glitches that happened to their network. In Nigeria, what most of these institutions have always claimed is that we are not yet ripe, technologically speaking, to depend on servers like that. And you are asking that it must be based on server and not discretion of the INEC officials.
Thank you very much, my brother. I really appreciate your efforts, and I want to say well done for all the amazing work that you have been doing and you continue to do. May God preserve our lives to see the Nigeria of our dreams. So, and let me say hello to everybody who is on the live. Well done, well done. Thank you for joining. Amen to all your prayers. So let me go straight to answering your question, sir. You see, the issue you raised is very important, because if JAMB is observing glitches for exam, the question will be, what will be the guarantee that electronic technology can serve for elections in my brother is in 2025, in a 21st century. Is that not a disgrace? So the question will now be, how did Ghana get the technology to conduct their elections in 2024, last year, December? Ghana. How did Senegal conduct their elections last year or 2 years ago? So how has South Africa been conducting their elections? These countries I mentioned, the Nigerian presidents were there as guests during the inaugurations. What questions did they ask, and what lessons did they learn? In fact, Ghana concluded their elections. They are not in court because the results are not being disputed.
Absolutely.
Now, having asked that number one question, let me now tell you the second leg and why that statement is a complete falsehood and it is mischief in itself. Before the 2023 elections, in fact, do you know that as far back as 2018, this current INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, said he wanted to build on what Professor Jega did in 2015. And the NCC, they formed a working committee, in fact, a joint committee, because they came out to tell them, JAM said they had worked with Airtel and MTN and NCC, and that is why they had been able to get the technology that they are using for JAM CBT exams now. But because 2018 was too close to the 2019 general elections, the INEC chairman could not implement that reform. Now, fast forward to after the 2019 elections, when President Buhari came back for his second term, INEC approached National Assembly and said they needed a law to back electronic transmission of results.
Yes.
The National Assembly, the then Speaker of National House of Reps, Femi Gbajabiamila, who is now Chief of Staff to the President, said that does Nigeria have enough broadband network to power electronic transmission of results? They now called NCC. NCC officials came to the National Assembly. Everything I'm telling you, you can go and verify. It is out there.
I know the timeline, yes.
NCC came out and said, there are places we have 3G, some places we have 2G, but maybe the entire country may not be covered. INEC now came out and said that position is not correct. This is the statement of INEC, that we are not asking National Assembly to give us a law on something we are not already doing. That we have already implemented this electronics technology in Edo off-season election. You remember the election that brought Governor Obaseki back?
Yes.
In Ondo State, the second-term election of the late Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, and other off-season elections across the country. So they only needed a law to back up what they were already doing. But the National Assembly, the politicians in their mischief, decided to pass that law, Electoral Act 2022, and left a loophole where electronic transmission of results became optional for INEC. So on the day of elections, INEC decided how they wanted to collate their result. So basically what we did in 2023 was a manual process with an option of electronic. So when the other parties went to court, the judiciary said it is up to INEC to choose how they want to conduct elections. So what we were supposed to have done immediately after 2023 elections, if we were serious and honest, everybody should have gone back immediately to the National Assembly and say, hold on, we must take away conducting elections from how INEC decides to do it. This and this must be mandatory. So INEC must be compelled on how to do it. And if INEC say they cannot provide a server, Nigerian youths can build a server that will work efficiently. Anywhere you are in Nigeria today, including bandits and kidnappers who are in the forest, they get alerts from their phones on bank. So if there is technology in the forest where kidnappers can receive alerts and make calls, what is stopping free and fair elections in Nigeria?
Are you aware that already they've started announcing electoral officers here and there? And so do you think this movement, this advocacy still meets up with the time?
It does meet up with the time. Let me make something clear on this forum now so that everybody can understand. You see this petition that we took to the National Assembly. You notice that the person who signed the petition is one Mr. Opola Chinedu Okereke. He is the convener of a group we call Nigerian Electoral Reform Coalition. NECO. Okay. We decided to be a part of it.
Okay.
So that we could come together, everybody that is talking about electoral reform.
Can harmonize all the efforts.
Harmonize and put up that petition. You see that document we took to the National Assembly. This is not the first petition that the National Assembly has on electoral reform. What we did, in fact, there are people who have submitted petitions with 10-point agenda. 10
ahead of
demand.
Ahead of NERCO.
In fact, let me even go further to tell you that even without submitting any petition, the National Assembly, if they are sincere, they know what to do to make elections transparent.
Especially as they already have a committee on
They
electoral
have a
reform.
committee on electoral reform, but for 2 years since 2023, that committee has not been able to come up with any meaningful electoral reform. And they know that there is a timeline for passing this. So why is there a delay? The same National Assembly that passed a new national anthem in 1 day has been unable to pass a new electoral reform in 2 years. And they have been using taxpayer money to hold different seminar here. That is to show you that this petition we took then is only as good as the public pressure that we decide to put on them. And that
more like a
is
reminder.
what brings me to all what we are doing.
Absolutely.
It's not as if the petition that we went there to submit is what the National Assembly must adopt. It is a call to action.
So what is your conviction? What is your faith in this letter?
Should I
and this
tell you my
document?
conviction?
Yes, go ahead, please.
My conviction is in you.
In all of us.
For you to become so interested that you reached out to me and said we need to begin to do a media rally and advocacy, it shows you understand the issues. When I tell you that there is a dangerous level of ignorance amongst Nigerians, see, Nigerians have sufficient anger and frustration.
It's just to channel the anger.
The problem is, where are we channeling the anger to? Nigerians have failed to realize the root cause of the problem. So everybody go wake up. You go see somebody. Many activists go come out. You go say, we want to fight my brother with his online police. Another person go say, we dey fight people where they thief money. Some people go say, we dey fight. Do you know that the root cause of the whole problem is a bad governance system? If you fail, ask yourself the question, if the police, who are law enforcement, are doing the job that they're supposed to do, would you need a private citizen to become online police? Because at the best, even if you are the best online police as a private individual, you cannot prosecute your case in court because you do not have the jurisdiction legally to do so. So we must all come together and realize that the root cause of all the problem is on the electoral system, which is the only way we can elect leaders and vote them out.
Absolutely.
So when you ask me of my hope or my what word did you use?
Your faith, your conviction,
my faith,
your belief
is in the fact that Nigerians will come to a point where we say our collective suffering and anger don't mobilize us enough. When every Nigerian is adequately mobilized through the suffering that is going on, nobody will need to talk too much. Out of the 200 million people within Nigeria, we don't need even 10 million. An active 1 million people in Nigeria
will drive the change. Absolutely.
Out of 200 million people. So Nigerians, it is up to us.
Well, you know, recently you started calling on pastors, celebrities, people of influence, activists to mobilize around this advocacy because we definitely need, yes, the mobilization. So how is the response so far? Are they responding? Are you impressed by the turn-up? Are they responding so far? You may want to tell us, maybe Davido has said, okay, let's do this. Or maybe Pastor Adeboye has reached out to say, oh, good man. Tell us.
My brother.
Let's know how big this is growing already. Let's know how big it's growing. Let's know how big it's growing already.
Nigeria is an interesting place. Not everything appears the way it seems. A lot of times when I see Nigerians, I stand with this, I stand with that, I feel sympathy for a lot of Nigerians. Nigerians need a hero. They need public figures to speak up for them. But the truth of the matter is that sometimes the people you may be hoping on to speak up for you may just be beneficiaries of the system you are trying to change. don't be too carried away by a lot of things that you see. But do you know one thing that is the truth? Time will test the motive of every action.
Absolutely.
So you see all these things why they do. I go call celebrity, I call activist, I call pastor, I am fulfilling all righteousness. Make nobody talk say I no do wetin I supposed to
Or
do.
you know, reach out.
I no
at
reach
least.
out. Me, as I did so, I'm not a madman. I know some things, so, but not everything now we go talk. But
True.
the truth of the matter is, it is not as important how many be celebrities, how many be activists. If every common Nigerian come out and decide to take our destiny in our hands, the celebrity, pastor, imam, they no get choice, they go join them.
Okay,
You
into
understand?
it. Yeah,
So do
definitely.
not be bothered about person wey join or person wey no join. I am not in that group of category of worrying myself. I only have control over my own actions. I don't have control over the reactions of other people. So in my life, I work with a philosophy that I concentrate on what I have control and leverage over. Anything I cannot control, I don't bother about it. So my goal is that by the day after elections in 2027, God sparing my life, may I not wake up and realize that there was something I could have done that I did not do. That is it for me.
To come to the assembly to discuss this
Yes.
with the committee. I don't know if there is already, but while we are waiting for that, or if that does not even come, what are other lineup of activities to continue to make sure that this advocacy doesn't even stop at all, but continue to galvanize more people around it?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am thanking you because you know that I have been going about different interviews and, you know, media houses. Do you know that the job that you are doing, many people we call, quote, big journalists in Nigeria are unable to do it? The questions you are asking, a lot they go on for Nigeria. Nigeria go far, go. So when I hear the questions you are asking, I'm just saying, wow. What are the plans of action?
Yeah.
We gave them 30 days from the day of submitting that petition, which was on the 9th of May. 30 days will culminate on the 6th of June. Between that 9th of May and 6th of June, we are supposed to have this aggressive citizen sensitization and media engagement. Now, everybody that needs to come on board will need to come on board. And then we are forming groups too, because you know, say part of the problem be say, all this English where we they speak, so we supposed to fit decentralize them into the local languages where Nigerians go fit understand. The plan is that before the end of that 30 days, we are looking at by the 15th day, or the next day nearest to that when there will be plenary, we need to have an advocacy walk, a peaceful march to the National Assembly. If Nigerians are ready for that, we are all ready for that. Let me just give you the bottom line. This electoral reform where we they ask for, do you know why it will be very difficult to do? And me, where they inside, I know saying a difficult thing. What you are basically demanding for is for the current government to give you a means for which they will leave office. I see, me where they talk this electoral reform, I am not ignorant of the challenges of it. Waiting we they simply ask this government to do is give us a process that will take you out of office.
Create a door and give us the key.
Create a door for you to leave. Imagine telling people where they're interested in power all their lives that you need them to leave. So it will be an uphill task. But the more reason why they continue to refuse to give you is the more reason why you must continue to insist. Let me tell you something. Since where we start all this talk, where we they do end SARS, end bad government protests, The politicians are not as concerned as since people start to talk about this electoral reform. And do you know what? A lot of politicians, even in the National Assembly, are in support of this electoral reform. A lot of them, because they be politicians, that they chop, that they observe table manners, that you cannot speak while you are eating, they no go won't come out. They are also waiting for you, Nigerians, because guess what? Now you, now the thing affects more. You will be poor person. Them, they have the resources. At the next minute now, if Nigeria collapse, they will be on the next flight out of this country.
I am Nigerian and I want free, fair, and peaceful election. Talking about peaceful, by the way, you know, in the last election, a lot of people were discouraged from voting because of threats here and there. In fact, there were physical attacks in some places. I still don't know how we intend to really work on ensuring that our elections are peaceful in Nigeria, because people are still discouraged due to electoral violence.
This is a very important question, and don't get tired of hearing me say thank you to you. Do you know why it is important that we have this electoral reform? Because you talked about the people Tinubu or the presidency have been appointing to INEC. Nigerians must build a system where what we want is that as much as possible, there should be limited human interference. So if we are able to get that system of electoral reform, even the issues of insecurity may not need to be there, because you know, say from polling units where everybody votes, they don't see their result for server. So you where they go carry ballot paper, you just they
waste your time.
Run, go where you want run, go. Unless you want to kill everybody.
It filtered in the news that one member at the National Assembly was proposing a bill to criminalize refusal of anyone to vote, like maybe proposing jail time for people that are of voting age but are not voting. So I don't know if you have any reaction to that one.
The one puts jail time for people where they voting age but are not voting.
But we know
the people where EFCC catch among them as politicians, where embezzle money, where thief money, waiting be the jail time for them.
No, we are still talking about voting here. We are not talking about access to money now.
No, because it's so good make we balance out. You know, say
okay.
Them, they are the ones promoting that law. Do you know that part of the issues of this non-prosecuting of electoral offenders is why nothing is happening? Are you aware that the professor, the person who did the re-elections, that carried the current Senate, one of the Senate leaders in the National Assembly, has been sentenced to prison? Are you aware?
Yes.
But the beneficiary of that criminal process is still maintaining his position.
Absolutely.
So do you see the hypocrisy and mischief of our leadership?